Hi, church friends.
Hi, church friends.
We hope you've had a wonderful week. We're going to talk about some things today having to do with the Bible. But first, we've been talking a little bit about animals, right?
I want to act like amphibians now.
Okay, go ahead. Act like an amphibian.
Ribbit. I like Spider-Man.
You want to act like Spider-Man? Micah, are amphibians frogs?
Yep.
Are frogs amphibians? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you. Does God live in animals?
Yeah.
Does God live in Miles?
Yep.
Does God live in Daddy?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Does God live in this room and in our house?
Yep.
So where does
Yep.
God live?
Everywhere.
Good. Okay, I'm going to read you a story. You ready? You want to hear a story? Let's go ahead and sit down. So we're learning this week about the Bible and how we use it. Do you know what the Bible is? Okay, well, good. Well, we're going to talk about it. A long time ago, people lived and traveled around on foot in small groups, dragging their shelters with them.
Why?
Because they didn't have cars and they would have to walk everywhere they went, or sometimes ride a donkey. We call them tribes today. They gather their fruit? Yep, they gather their food from plants and trees that grew naturally in the forest and the meadows. On occasion, they would chase down an animal and have meat with their wild fruit and nuts.
Oh no, we're gonna kill an animal?
Yeah, but they had to eat. Although these people had special wisdom about how they can live together in community, they didn't know much about the rest of the world like we do today. They believed the world was flat and not very big. They believed that there was a dome over the earth that had holes in it. And most of all, they thought there were powerful gods or a god above the dome that caused storms, lightning, floods, famine, and other scary things. Because they didn't know much about the universe and they assumed that these gods were very powerful, they believed that when the gods did these things, they must have done something wrong. And so over the eons, the wise people of the tribes would try and figure out what they had done wrong and why there was a storm or a volcano. The campfire where they cooked their food and kept warm on cold nights was a very important part of lives for these ancient people. It was probably also time for singing and dancing, and maybe they would laugh and tell scary stories.
Which scary stories we're going to tell?
I'm not sure, but
Maybe spooky stories.
Maybe spooky ones. We can imagine that. But sometimes when we sit around the fire, we talk about those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was also a time when they would listen to the wise elders talk about how they thought the world came to be and how the God up there wanted them to live. The wise leaders were often asked why certain things happen, especially by young children, like you. They were expected to have an answer. One time, a little girl named Mina was sitting by the campfire next to one of the wise elders of the tribe. Everyone listened to this elder because she knew everything and she always wanted to have the right answers. Mina was sad because her mother died after trying to give birth to a baby. The world that Mina lived in was harsh and she had seen death before, but she was very sad this time because she missed her mother. Her death just did not make sense to her. And so she asked the wise woman, "Why do people have to suffer and die?" The wise woman took a deep breath and began to tell a story. She said, "A long time ago, God created a man and a woman, and God created them and gave them everything they needed to live abundantly, fruits on trees, healing grasses, and plenty of fresh water. But God told them that they should not eat the fruit of a certain tree. It was forbidden. And for many, many years, these two people lived happy without pain or hunger. But one day, they got curious about the fruit on that tree. And they wondered why God told them not to eat that fruit. And they thought, even though it's forbidden, it looked juicier and sweeter and more beautiful than all the other fruit. And these two people began to grumble. Who does God think God is? We live here and we should be able to eat what we want." And so one day they picked one of the pieces of the fruit off the tree and they took a bite. At first it seemed that nothing happened. The old woman continued. The fruit was not very tasty and they dropped it on the ground, but suddenly there was a very loud voice. "Why have you disobeyed me?" the voice asked. Well, the man tried to blame the woman and the woman tried to blame the man, but they both knew that they had been caught disobeying God.
Why ever got caught by God?
He saw him. God seemed very sad, but then God said, "Because you have disobeyed me, you will have to experience death. You started at dust and you will have to return to dust." And the woman God said, "From now on, I will increase your suffering when you give birth to children, and that is why people die and women suffer and when they have babies," the wise woman explained. Mina looked at the wise woman and she wanted to tell her that she did not think it was fair just because someone broke the rules a long, long time ago that her mother had to die. She was young and did not understand that this was just a story that tried to explain many things no one really understood. One of those things is that life is not always fair, but we can learn how to make the best out of our situation. The story the wise woman told Mina was repeated again and again for many, many years. Mina told her children and they told their children. Each time it was told, new details were added and some things were changed. And now I'm telling you.
Hey.
Some things were left out. You see, that is the way the ancient people tried to explain the things they could not explain otherwise. But today, we know that that's just a story to help us understand the ancient people and the way they saw the world. So the truth is, Michael, we don't actually know what happened in the garden and if there was ever a garden and if there was an Adam and Eve. But what we do know is that the Bible is used. It's a bunch of tiny little books that were all squished together that's used to tell us different things. So church friends, this week, maybe ask your adults about the Bible. The Bible has a lot of cool books in it. There's a lot of them in it. So when we think about the Bible, we have to remember it was written many, many years ago.
Whoa. That's a lot of years.
It's a lot of years ago. So there are books in the Bible that are just stories to help our imaginations, and there's other books in the Bible of things that actually happened, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But go ahead and ask your adults this week if you have any Bible questions, and you can also let us know on this video, and maybe we can try and answer them next week. You have anything else to say?
Well, I want you to read that story of her doing the story again.
Okay, so we're going to read the story again. We hope the rest of you have a good week and a good Valentine's Day, and we'll see you later. Bye, church friends.
Nee, da, da, do.